some great highlights. We've got a very interesting St. Cloud State player spotlight. I mean, this is action-packed.
A hockey feast. We got a full plate.
Are you ready to dine?
Ready to dine. Let's go.
Let's go. Rock and roll, boys.
Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the bubble. We are here live at the Richfield Ice Arena, where the Academy of Holy Angels boys are going through the motions behind us with an early season practice. Joined as always by Matt Harrington. I'm Brandon Spratt. Matt, we got a huge show coming up for you tonight with a lot on the menu.
Yeah, we're going to go through some girls' highlights from the first week of the season. We're going to take a look at the boys' season preview as well. And we've got some other things in store, so really looking forward to this show.
All right, without further ado, let's roll some of the highlights.
We start with Elk River and the Blaine Bengals here, as we'll pick this one up here in the second period. Look at this nice move to the front and the finish by Grayson Nowles, who gets the party started for Blaine. They lead 1-0 in the second period with 9:05 to go. Final 90 seconds now of the second period. Elk River looking to tie things up, and the rebound is cleaned up in front by Jaden Peterson, who gets the even strength goal, and the Elks have tied it at 1. Late in the third now, we're still at 1-1. Elk River looking to make a move here as it's a 2-on-1 into the offensive zone. A nice pass over, and how about the backhand finish there from Danny Heinrichsen. Nicely done. Elk River leads late, 3:57 to go, but 2:05 remaining. Still plenty of time for Blaine to get an equalizer, and that is exactly what they'll do here. As the shot from the point looks like it gets tipped in front by Johnson on the shot from Nowles. This one will finish a 2-2 tie in overtime.
Couple West Metro teams, Mound West Tonka Southwest Christian and Chaska Chan, doing battle this on Tuesday night. Look at the great move by Elizabeth Callahan, who feeds it to Ellie Lundquist for the power play goal, and the Whitehawks take a 1-0 lead. Chaska Chan, though, would answer later in the second period. They steal the puck here and are able to rush it up the ice to feed to Ava Stewart, who ties it at 1. And then on literally the next shift, it's 11 seconds later, you'll see it coming just off the face-off as the play develops. Maddie Richter's feed goes there to Quinlan Borner, who scores. Watch this celly. That is a great celly there. You can see how fired up the girls are there to take the 2-1 lead. And that would not be all for Chaska Chan as they spring this breakaway. Later in the period, up over the glove hand, Claire Lawler makes it 3-1. Whitehawks, though, would answer back. This time, even strength as Cameron Hargraves feeds it out front, and that is Elizabeth Callahan, who gets a goal for herself to cut it to 1. We head now into the third, under 7 minutes to go, and this is a crazy sequence here. Watch this. Goaltender Margraf, it's somehow cleared off the line. She had an unbelievable game, but eventually the Whitehawks are going to get another chance, and that one is pushed in on the goal line and finished off by Greer Hardacre. As a mad scramble there, Mound West Tonka would score and tie this game at 3. That's how it would end. 59-12 the shots in this one, but Chaska Chan comes away with the tie.
Pine City taking on Hopkins Park here. We'll pick it up in the late stages of the first period. Nice move to the front here in the finish as the Dragons take the early lead as Lexa Valvoda gets the goal. Pine City again up 1-0. Final seconds now of the second period. A backhander from Avery Shaw is going to get home for Hopkins Park, and the Royals have tied it up at 1 apiece. Key goal there for Hopkins Park. Now into the third period, a backhand chance in front. Excellent save by Evelyn Osland, who made 43 stops in this game for the Hopkins Park Royals. Terrific job in net from her. But look out here on the breakaway in overtime. Pine City with a chance to win it. And it's Madison Perot who cuts to the backhand and finishes it off for the Pine City Dragons, who pull off a huge win on the road. It is their only game against the AA program this year, and it's a big one to start the season off. 1-0 for the Pine City Dragons.
Holy Angels hosting the two-time defending state champs War Road in Class A action on Saturday. War Road has not lost to a Class A opponent in 2.5 years since the state tournament in 2021. We pick it up with a good early chance for the Stars there, and then this one's going to be dumped in. Goaltender Peyton Rowley for for Warroad had some big saves, but the Stars get on the board early in the second frame. Freshman Avery Mullen, her first career goal, and a helper from her sister Mason. What a time for it. Speaking of Mason, we'll pick this up in the third period now as the Stars will hold the zone. They're on the power play early in the third. They work it around nicely, and eventually it is Mason Mullen, the older sister. 1 goal apiece for the Mullins, and nice celly there as well as they go dogpile. Stars lead it by 2. Off the dot, this is later in the third period. It's going to be Anya Anderson going to the front of the net. Good things will happen if you get to the front of the net, and she makes it 3-0 AHA. Looking like a bit of a stroll in the park maybe for the Stars. Not so as this one goes later on. But first, it was Zoe Rimstad's turn to make some key saves for Holy Angels. She made big saves as the game went on, ending her day in the end with 25 stops. We take it now late into the third period, final 3 minutes. There's some daylight, and guess who finds it? Kaya Sandy. She makes it a 2-goal game with 2:56 to go. Then, 8 seconds later, we go literally right off the face-off. And take a look here. Yeah, there is the face-off. They're going to work it up to Jaylee French. And watch this right here. French, top of the circle, the twisted wrister into the top corner. Some stress in the building for the Stars as their lead is cut to 1 in a hurry. However, they would hold on. Some stout defensive action from the Stars all day. You see the excitement from the bench. Holy Angels, a key win, 3-2, and this will definitely help them in our Class A Top 11, which we'll go through in a little bit. 3-2 Holy Angels as the Stars go to 3-0.
Moorhead visiting Benilde St. Margaret's on the second half of a weekend trip to the Twin Cities. Take a look at Bailey Gray here getting things rolling for the Red Knights as they take an early 1-0 lead over Moorhead, who had a tie versus Andover on Friday night. The Spuds, though, not off to a great start. Here's Bailey Gray again. Beautiful wrister from the high slot. That goes home, and Benilde quickly jumps out to a 2-0 lead in the first period as the Red Knights were rolling. And then not over yet in the first as Lizzie Hamill cuts to the front, finishes on the backhand with 0.7 seconds to go in the period. The Red Knights take a 3-0 lead into the first intermission. They keep things rolling in the second period. Garbage in front is cleaned up by Addie Morris, who makes it 4-0 in favor of Benilde. Still 10:33 to go in the second period at this point. And then check out the patience in front of the goal by Kendall Hassler, who finishes it on the backhand. Really nice job to sneak in there from the point and finish it home. Moorhead, though, would finally get some life as this one took a deflection past the goaltender Walsma. That was Maddie Hansen on the goal for Moorhead. That made it a 5-1 game. But then the Benilde St. Margaret's Red Knights add another nice pass in front, and Katie Zakrashek finishes it off for the Red Knights, who lead 6-1 now at this point in the game. Moorhead, though, had plenty of chances to try and get back into this, as they would end up getting another, as there's the feed in the slot and the finish from Ella Holm, who has been off to a hot start for the Spud so far this season. A couple more goals later on, but the Red Knights roll in this one, 8-3.
An early season 1 versus 2 as Minnetonka visits Andover on Saturday. Huskies getting on the board early as they work this puck to the point. Watch the tip here from Ella Thorson out front. That is a fantastic tip. Great hands shown there by Thorson to put the Huskies up 1-0. Into the second period now. It's going to look pretty similar. Andover works it to the point, and they clean up some trash out front. Amelia McQuay makes it 2-0. However, Minnetonka would fight back. Youngster Sydney Boss-Crone, the 8th grader, steals the puck behind the net and scores for Minnetonka her first career varsity goal, and a big goal at that to cut it to 2-1. Later, same shift, puck just dropped. The Skippers are going to work it around. Eventually, the puck will find its way to Boss-Crone out front. 2 goals on one shift for the 8th grade forward Sydney Boss-Crone, and it's tied at 2. Andover, though, they have some young players of their own. Here's one here. Freshman Julia Gertis, her first career goal, and she shows off to make it 3-2 Huskies. 5-on-3 now late in the period, and Lindsay Abar is going to clean this one up out front. Ties it up for Minnetonka at 3. Watch, you got a player coming in from the neutral zone. Minnetonka pulled the goalie to make it 6-on-3, and they cashed in to tie it up at 3. We're into the third period now, though, and Hannah Christensen, a sweet move there, finishes it on the backhand past Ashlyn Hazlett, excuse me, and makes it 4-3. Skippers, though, back on the power play, a big theme of this game. They work it over for the one-timer on the dot. Lauren Goldsworthy off the feed from Kendra Distad and Bella Finnegan on the power play. Makes it 4-4, and then in the game's final minute, another chance on the power play for the Skippers, and watch this one here. The Ovi-style one-timer from Kendra Distad with 48 seconds left. That was a hammer shot from Distad, the Minnesota commit. Skippers, 3 power play goals. They win it 5-4 over Andover.
We take it now to Vadnais Heights, Minnesota. Gentry Academy hosting Champlain Park Coon Rapids here in the first period. Check out this wrist shot that sneaks through on the shot from Sydney Bernovic, who gets the goal, and the Bluebirds of Champlain Park Coon Rapids on top 1-0. Gentry Academy trying to even the game at this point, and they do. It's a power play goal from Ava Enstrom, and it's 1-1. Now also here later in the first period, or rather in the second period, it is going to be Champlain Park Coon Rapids who takes the lead. It's Taylor Zahalka with the goal. And again, just a terrific job in front. They get another goal later in the period as well from Semling, and it's a big one for Champlain Park Coon Rapids. How about this penalty shot opportunity for Gentry Academy? And it's a good effort, but a terrific save in goal there as well from the goaltender Wallstroh. And it's still a 3-1 lead in favor of Champlain Park Coon Rapids. Gentry Academy not going away though here as they get a goal late to make it a 3-2 game from Anna Myers, but that would do it. Champlain Park Coon Rapids 4-0 to start the season, as Gentry Academy already has matched their 2 losses, which is all they had in last year's state championship win.
Behind every world-class athlete, there's a team who takes extra care to support them. At Affinity Plus, we take extra care with all your banking goals, from checking accounts to credit cards. Our biggest victory? Helping you win in the ways that matter most. Affinity Plus.
Your college experience begins with your dream. Your time at St. Cloud State will uniquely be your own, but your journey will be guided by our community. Be you. Be bold. Be a Husky.
What if there was a place where everything was hockey?
He can skate. Here comes Steves in on goal all alone.
In Minnesota, there is.
Scores!
We will get our boys section preview started with Section 1AA, which features the 5-time defending section champion Lakeville South Cougars. A couple changes to the sections this year. This is the first of 2 years in the high school league section realignment. And new into this section is New Prague, moving into AA up from 1A. And the Hastings Raiders are moved out. They will go into 3AA this season. We'll take a look at some players to watch once again here for the boys, and our player to watch in Section 1AA is Lakeville South's Jackson Ernst. Ernst is a top returner for the Lakeville South Cougars this season. He's a junior captain, 9 goals and 9 assists last year. Those numbers are sure to skyrocket with a lot of that top line and top scoring for the Cougars now gone. A big 6'1" forward is Ernst, and he will lead the way for Lakeville South. Now you'll see some others to watch in this section. New Prague will be led by Will Seymour, who had 51 points last year. Take a look at him for the Trojans. And then a pair of Lakeville North Panthers as they look to unseat their city rivals, Lakeville South. Look out for Tyler Arneson and a goaltender, Carter Mayfield, who could be key players in this section as well.
We move on to Section 2AA now, and on paper, this promises to be one of the most exciting sections in the state, as it is the Minnetonka Skippers, the defending state champions, who are the #1 team in this year's preseason rankings. And of course, Chanhassen right behind them at #2. Skippers, of course, have 9 Division I commits. That is an incredible number at the high school level that are going to be coming and returning for the Skippers team this year. Meanwhile, the Chanhassen Storm, extremely talented as well, as they bring back some of their top scorers from last year. And just days ago, goaltender Cam Hendrickson announced that he will be returning for his senior season, which means that the Chanhassen Storm are going to be right there with the Minnetonka Skippers in this section. We look at the rest of the teams in this section: Bloomington, Jefferson, Chaska, Eden Prairie, Holy Family, Prior Lake, Shakopee, and the one newcomer in this section is the Waconia Wildcats as they move up from 2A. And then our preseason player to watch in this section, this was a difficult one, but it is Hagen Burrows of the Minnetonka Skippers. Burrows last year, the leading scorer on that state title team with 24 goals, 26 assists, and is committed to the University of Denver. Other honorable mentions for players to watch: Gavin Eulenkamp of the Chanhassen Storm, the Wisconsin commit, had 45 points last year for the Storm. Definitely a Mr. Hockey candidate to watch. Minnetonka senior defenseman John Stout, who a lot of people are saying is clearly the front runner for the Reed Larson Award for top senior defender. A very elite defender to watch in the state. And also, we just mentioned him, senior goaltender Cam Hendrickson for Chanhassen had a .940 save percentage last year for the Storm.
We now move into Section 3AA, a section dominated for the last 7 seasons by St. Thomas Academy, winning 5 in a row, and then Cretin-Durham Hall the last 2, as those 2 private school powerhouses have dominated here in Section 3. Newcomers in this section this year: Hastings, that I mentioned in the Section 1 segment. They are up from 1AA to 3AA, and Two Rivers High School moves up from Section 4A into AA in 3AA. Our player to watch here in Section 3AA, we're going to go a little different route in a different school. It is Park of Cottage Grove's junior forward Jackson Rude. He had 22 goals and 37 assists a year ago, and joins with a couple of compatriots and classmates, Owen Corkish and Gavin Moss. They combined for 151 points a season ago between the 3 of them. Park had a strong season, 16-9-1. All 3 returned. They look to be very strong once again. So Jackson Rude, our player to watch in Section 3. We go to Cretin and STA for some honorable mentions. Cretin's Chuck Owens, he is a captain who will take on a bigger role this year with a lot of departures for the Raiders. He is also a Air Force Academy commit. And then we turn our attention to the cadets, who have Brody Dietz on the blue line. He is definitely one to watch for the Reed Larson Award, and he will be stepping up into a bigger role in his 2nd season with the cadets. And Cody Neeson as well. He moves from a part-time role in goal to a full-time role for the cadets. Had a very strong high school elite league season for STA.
Let's move on to Section 4AA now, as it has been a section that has been dominated by the Hail Murray Pioneers as of late. Last year, the Pioneers had 14 losses, but somehow they still managed to get to the state tournament, an impressive run, which ended up in a consolation finish for the Pioneers. Looking at the section alignment this year, just one newcomer in this section. It is the Mounds View Mustangs, who move over from Section 5AA. The rest of the alignment looks like this: Eastridge, Gentry Academy, Roseville, Stillwater, Tartan North, White Bear Lake, and Woodbury. Let's look at our preseason player to watch this year. It is the senior forward out of White Bear Lake, Nolan Rode. Rode is an elite scoring forward. He's a St. Cloud State commit. Last year, he had some terrific numbers for the White Bear Lake Bears. And of course, this year played a little bit in the USHL. He is going to be among the favorites, certainly, for Mr. Hockey this season. Honorable mentions for players to watch: senior forward out of Mounds View, Johnny Conlon, 61 points a year ago, perhaps an under-the-radar candidate for Mr. Hockey this season. Also for Hill Murray, junior defenseman Landon Cottingham, who's a part of a group of sophomores last year that played a big role in the Pioneers' trip to the state tournament. Expect for him to be among one of the better junior defenders in the state. And finally, White Bear Lake goaltender Leo Gabriel. Last year went 17-6. He's a very elite goaltender, and he's going to need to be key if the Bears want to upend the Hill Murray Pioneers in this section.
We move on now to Section 5, which has been won 5 years in a row by the Maple Grove Crimson. A couple new teams in this section this year as the Blaine Bengals and the Coon Rapids Cardinals move down from Section AA into Section 5AA. And then as Matt mentioned, from Section 4, Mounds View is out of 5AA. Our player to watch in the Section 5AA is Centennial's senior forward Harper Searles. His coach describes him as great in all three zones, very unselfish, and has great vision, and the numbers certainly back that up. 47 assists to go along with a 20-goal season last year, and he looks to lead Centennial to the state tournament for the first time since 2018. Certainly one to watch for Mr. Hockey is Harper Searles of Centennial. Some other players to watch in this section, Maple Grove's forward Lucas Bush. He is the only returner of the top 8 scorers for the Crimson this year. We know Maple Grove certainly always deep in the youth levels, but they will be looking to replace a bunch from last year's team. Lucas Bush, though, 43 points. He will be in an even bigger role this year. And then it is Rogers looking to assert themselves in Section 5AA. They're led by many players we could have chosen, but we picked Mason Jensen, who is one of the top scorers in the high school elite league this fall, had 49 points in his sophomore season, and defender Jackson Smith-Necht, who with 6 goals and 13 assists a year ago, he will be looking to step in and fill the shoes of Chase Cheslock, the Reed Larson winner from a year ago.
Well, Section 6AA is home to the team right behind us, the Academy of Holy Angels Stars, and plenty of other talented teams in this section. No changes in this section, though, as here is the alignment. Academy of Holy Angels, of course, Benilde St. Margaret's, the Blake Bears, Edina Hornets, Hopkins, and then followed by Armstrong, Cooper, St. Louis Park, Wayzata. The front runner this year in this section appears to be the Wayzata Trojans, who are going to be a fun addition to watch. They had 8 different players on their roster that were featured in the Elite League this season, which was among the most out of any high schools. The biggest question for them is how will they replace Will Ingeman, who was such a great goaltender last year for this Wayzata Trojans teams. And of course, Edina is Edina, always lots of talent on the Hornets edition. That will certainly be a challenger, as well as the Benilde St. Margaret's Red Knights. And of course, the Holy Angels Stars have plenty of young talent, which we'll get into in just a moment. Our preseason player to watch in this section is Jackson Nevers of the Edina Hornets, certainly going to be among the favorites for the Mr. Hockey Award this season. Last year he had an even 20 goals, 20 assists for the Edina Hornets, and is certainly, like we mentioned, among the favorites for Mr. Hockey. Some honorable mentions right here at Holy Angels. It's Henry Lechner, the junior forward. Lechner last season had 75 points, including 31 goals. Just recently committed to the University of St. Thomas. And other honorable mentions in this section, it is Mason Miner out of the Benilde St. Margaret's Red Knights program. Sophomore defenseman, is already among the best in the state, and he's only a sophomore, so keep an eye out for Mason Miner. And finally, Reese Wallen of Wayzata is going to be another player to watch. Critical offensive player, and he's going to be key for this Trojans team that is trying to get back to the state tournament.
Into Section 7AA now. This is a section that has been won by the Andover Huskies 4 years in a row. There are only 4 state tournament trips coming in 4 consecutive seasons. Let's look at some of the contenders to knock off the Huskies this season. And of all the AA sections, this one probably changed the most. Out is Blaine and Coon Rapids into 5AA. Cloquet Esco Carleton is dropping down into single A this season. We'll see them a little bit later. And new teams into the section. Rockridge will trade places with Cloquet Esco Carleton, and they will go up from 7A into 7AA, as well as Duluth Denfeld moving up from 7A, and Cambridge Isanti is up from 5A. So a lot of shuffling in 7AA this season. Our player to watch from this section is from one of those teams looking to knock off the Andover Huskies, and that is Duluth East senior forward Thomas Gunderson. A senior forward and captain, has some of the best wheels in the state. He had 51 points a season ago to lead a resurgent Duluth East program to a 27-1 record. and they are looking to make their first state trip since 2019. Some other folks to watch in this section mentioned Cambridge Isanti. They are up from A this season. They have forward Seth Terrell, who had 25 goals and 22 assists last year, had a strong Elite League fall in the high school Elite League as well. Andover will be led by Ben Dahl, 22 points and 8 goals a year ago. They lost their entire top line and top 4 scorers, but Ben Dahl will be stepping into a bigger role along with others for the Huskies, who look to remain a threat in 7AA. And then Grand Rapids defender Luka Roloff. We could have picked a few different defenders for the Thunderhawks, who were so good at keeping the puck out of the net last season. A very strong overall blue line for Grand Rapids, and Roloff will lead that blue line once again for them this season. Some of the other teams in 7AA include Anoka, Forest Lake, Duluth Marshall, and Northern Edge rounding out the section.
Here we go, our final section in Class AA as we head up north for Section 8AA, where the alignment will stay the same this year, and it is as follows: Bemidji, Brainerd, and Buffalo, the 3 Bs leading it off in alphabetical order, followed by Elk River, Moorhead, Roseau, Sartell, St. Stephen, St. Cloud, and STMA. And in recent years, no surprise, this has been dominated by the Moorhead Spuds. They've won 5 straight section titles, and once again, they're looking like the front runner perhaps in this section. However, do not count out the Roseau Rams, a team that has a lot of talent coming back from last year's class, and they are trying to get to the state tournament for the first time in a decade, last making it in 2014. Elk River, also a sleeper team to keep an eye on, with Sam Stockman in goal for the Elks. Let's go to our preseason player of the year. It is Noah Ernest, the senior forward out of Roseau, and it wasn't clear until a couple weeks ago if Noah Ernest was going to be back with the Rams for a senior season. He is, and that's a huge boost for Roseau. Last season, he had 86 points, 45 goals. That was among top 10 in returning players. And he's also, of course, committed to St. Cloud State University for hockey. Other players to keep an eye on include Moorhead forward Mason Kraft. Minnesota State commit, had 38 points, including 7 goals last season for the Spuds. He's also got a teammate to keep an eye on too, Kai Weigel, in goal for Moorhead. No doubt that Weigel is one of the best goaltenders in the state and among the favorites for the Frank Brimsick Award. .930 save percentage for him last year, including a 19-win spot as well. And finally, an underappreciated goalie perhaps, it is Max Varner out of Buffalo. Varner is going to be a key to a team in Buffalo that lost a lot of talent from last year's team, looking quite depleted this year. He's going to face a high volume of shots, but going to be one to watch in Buffalo for sure.
We'll get it rolling with the Class A preview now, and we'll start in Section 1A. Once again, this section relatively unchanged, just New Prague moving up to Class AA. Otherwise, everyone else will remain. It is Austin, the Packers, the Albert Lee Tigers, Faribault, Dodge County, La Crescent Hoka, Northfield, the defending section champs, Red Wing, Rochester Lourdes, Waseca, and Winona contesting Section 1A this season. Our preseason player to watch is none other than Northfield's Camden Kaiser, a senior forward. He was top 10 in the state in goal scoring last season with 40 markers to go along with 26 assists. He is a sneaky, potentially Mr. Hockey candidate for the Raiders and a big-time power forward for the Raiders squad that went 23-7 and made it to the state tournament last season. We also look at his running mate along the blue line, Ty Frank. He had 31 points from the blue line last year as a honorable mention player to watch. And then a couple players from southern Minnesota who stood out in the Elite League this fall. It is Dodge County's Brett Ludvigsen that leads a pretty young and talented Dodge County team that returns a lot of scoring for the Wildcats this year. Ludvigsen over 50 points, and we'll end it with La Crescent Hoka's forward Wyatt Farrell. He is going to be a household name in high school hockey this season. Was tied for second in the state in goals last year with 52. He played in the high school Elite League this fall as well. And Wyatt Farrell is one to watch from southern Minnesota in Section 1A.
Moving on to Section 2A now, and this is a section that is going to look a little bit more depleted compared to last season, as there are no newcomers, but 3 teams are moving out of the section. That includes Southwest Christian Ridgefield, who is moving to 4A, along with Bloomington Kennedy, who is also moving to 4A, and we mentioned them earlier, Waconia, they move up to 2AA. So the 8 teams that remain in this section: Breck, Delano, Hutchinson, Litchfield, Dassel, Cokato, Minneapolis, Mound, West Tonka, Orono, and Providence Academy. Let's take a look now at some of the other teams that are going to play a factor in this section. We talked a little bit about Orono, and the Spartans, of course, are going to be losing a couple of key pieces from last year, including Bradley Walker, their leading scorer, along with Brock Payton, a fantastic goalie. But they still have a lot of talent, including Caden Efforts, who scored 31 points last year for the Spartans. So he's going to be an important piece moving forward. Keep an eye on Delano. They do lose a lot of talent as well, but certainly, as always, a household name in Class A hockey. Our preseason player to watch, though, is from a different team out of Providence Academy. It is senior forward Louis Wayman. And Wayman, just a terrific player for Providence Academy. 81 points a season ago, which was third most in the state among returning players. He had 44 goals to go along with that. Certainly the heart and soul of the Lions team that is going to be a scrappy bunch in 2A, and keep an eye on Wayman to be a potential Mr. Hockey finalist. Some other players to watch in this section. Forward out of Minneapolis, Ozzie Snodgrass, 44 points, 16 goals a season ago. And then also from Minneapolis, Hank Davis, senior forward as well, 15 assists last year to go along with 25 points. Also a Tri-Metro Conference honoree. And finally from Orono, it is senior Joey Mugas. They refer to him as Joey Makar in reference to Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche. He is a very elite defenseman, well liked by his coaches and teammates. Not much of a goal scorer, but he is an assist machine for these Orono Spartans.
Into Section 3A now, which includes mostly teams from the southwestern portion of the state of Minnesota. This section remains unchanged from a year ago and will feature 10 teams. Beginning with Fairmont, then we include also Laverne, Minnesota River, both Mankato East and West, Marshall, New Ulm, Redwood Valley, Windham area, and Worthington. It is the Laverne Cardinals who were the section winners a year ago, and they will be a strong contender once again, featuring our section player of the year, which is senior forward Patrick Kroski. Kroski had 68 points, or 68 points, a year ago. He leads an experienced group that went 21-8-1, and also featured a goaltender in Tyler Ahrens, who was very strong last year. He factored in all the results for the Laverne Cardinals with a .904 save percentage. That duo will certainly be key for Laverne this season. A couple players on teams looking to knock off Laverne. You have New Ulm's forward Austin Euchre, who had the same number of points as Kroski out of Laverne. He had 68 points on 27 goals and 41 helpers a year ago. And then for Marshall, their leading scorer was a defender in Talon Plant, 39 points, including 11 goals and 28 assists for the Marshall Tigers, as they will look to unseat Laverne as section winners this year.
Moving on to Section 4A now. This is a section that's going to have 2 newcomers and 1 departure, as we'll look at the alignment here on your screen. Bloomington Kennedy is the newcomer, at least one of them. They were in 2A, and they will also be joined by Southwest Christian Richfield in 4A. Both those teams were in 2A last year. They move a couple of sections over to 4A. And the 1 departure, as I mentioned, is Two Rivers as they move up to 3AA. Well, the name that stands out to you in this section is certainly the Matamidi Zephyrs, who have won this section many times over the last handful of years, including 2 state championships, one last year. And Gentry Academy, another team that won a state championship out of this section. They, of course, now are in 4AA. But nonetheless, 3 of the last 4 winners in Class A have come from right here in Section 4. And it's looking like Matamidi is once again going to be the team to beat in this section. Lots of elite talent on this roster, including sophomore Jimmy Egan, who appears to be one of the better underclass players in the state. He had 21 points a season ago and likely going to need to step up the experience as well for this Matamidi Zephyr team. And also another player to keep an eye on, Tate Hardacre of the Southwest Christian Richfield Stars. Really good offensive defenseman who could help improve that Stars roster. Let's go now to our preseason player of the year. Well, Matamidi has had a thing for goalies. Of course, they had Ben Dardis a couple seasons ago, and this year they've got another elite goaltender in Charlie Brandt. Brandt, of course, already has a state championship under his belt last season with the Zephyrs, and they're going to expect him to play a big role on this Matamidi team that is going to look to repeat as champions in Class A. Also, for another player to watch, it is Chisago Lake senior forward Jack Backen, leading scorer for the Wildcats a season ago, also a member of the All-Mississippi 8 Conference team, high-scoring forward that could help the Wildcats be in the mix as a contender in this section. Finally, we've got Matamidi junior Sam Harris, 6 foot, 175-pound defenseman, very good along the blue line, especially defensively.
had 20 points last season. That included 19 assists for Mahtomedi.
We go now to Section 5A that is largely unchanged in terms of teams from a year ago. Everybody returns except Cambridge Isanti that has been moved up into Section 7AA. The teams contesting Section 5A this season are Becker Big Lake, Little Falls, Monticello, Pine City area, Princeton, River Lakes, Sauk Rapids Rice, St. Cloud Cathedral, and Mora Malacca. St. Cloud Cathedral stands out amongst the group of this section. They have a very deep team led by our section player of the year in the preseason, Cathedral forward John Hirschfeld. He is a junior forward who hit the 50-point mark a year ago, leading a very deep St. Cloud Cathedral Crusader group that went 18-13 and will be looking to get back to the state tournament this season. They also feature goaltender Nick Hansen, who went 17-13 with a very impressive .913 save percentage last season. He is one of our honorable mention players to watch. We go elsewhere in the section as well. Mora Malacca features a high-scoring defender in Trenton Four, who led the way with 18 goals for that team a year ago. And then watch out for the Little Falls Flyers, always dangerous out of Section 5A as well. Forward Carter Uthout is very experienced. He had 29 goals and 50 points a year ago, and he is on to his 5th varsity season, bringing a lot of experience to a Flyers team that wants to get back to the X this year.
Here we go now to Section 6A, as there are no changes in this section. As you see there on your screen, Alexandria, followed by Breckenridge, Wahpeton, Fergus Falls, Morris Benson area, Northern Lakes Prairie Center, Wadena Deer Creek, and finally Wilmer. While Alexandria has kind of become the team to beat in this section over the last few seasons, they do lose 3 of their top 4 leading scorers, but plenty of depth to the point where this Alexandria Cardinals team is likely still going to be the section favorites on paper. The Otters of Fergus Falls, though, have been on the verge. They made it to 3 straight section finals, which have all been losses, unfortunately, for the Otters. But they do have plenty of good talent, including senior goaltender Brady Metcalf for Fergus Falls. He'll likely be stepping into the starting role this season with Ben Swanson graduating for Fergus Falls. And then keep an eye on the Northern Lakes Lightning, of course, who should improve significantly. They lost 15 games last year, but on paper, this is shaping up to be a much better team in the Northern Lakes Lightning. We'll go to our preseason player to watch now, and it is Kellen Stenstrom out of Fergus Falls High School. He's an elite offensive forward who has very good size for his age as well, 6'1" in height, and of course he scored 57 points a season ago as a junior. He's going to need to be big for Fergus Falls, who is trying to get back to the state tournament for the first time since 2003. Other honorable mentions out of Morris Benson area, it is senior forward Charlie Goff. He had 32 goals last year for the Storm. They lose a big chunk of last year's team as well, so Goff is going to have some more big shoes to fill for the Morris Benson area Storm. Also out of Alexandria, senior defenseman Jack Lamsky, 26 points a season ago, including 21 assists, high hockey IQ, and was an All-Central Lakes Conference pick as well. And then finally, out of Northern Lakes, it is senior defenseman Isaac Peterson, perhaps one of the more underappreciated and under the radar defensemen in the state, maybe a potential candidate for the Reed Larson Award winner, had 23 points last season for Northern Lakes. But so far, looking like Alexandria and Fergus Falls, the 2 big teams to watch in this section.
Section 7AA features the Hermantown Hawks, winners of the last 4 section crowns in this section. As we look at the alignment, they executed a little bit of a switcheroo with 7A and 7AA. Out from 7A is Duluth Denfeld and Rockridge, both up to 7AA, as we mentioned earlier. And moving down into Section 7A is Cloquet Esco Carleton from 7AA. Also in 7A is Ely, Greenway, aforementioned Hermantown, Hibbing Chisholm, Moose Lake area, International Falls, Proctor, and the North Shore Storm. Our preseason player to watch out of Section 7 is the Hermantown goaltender Dane Calloway. The senior goalie will certainly be a candidate for the Frank Brimzik Award this season. He put up good numbers a year ago, 15-2 with a 1.58 goals against. He has very good size at 6'2". He has been a contributor for the Hawks for a couple seasons now, and his head coach, Pat Andrews, said that he is the definition of a competitor in the net, and that really their team starts from the net out with Calloway. Calloway doesn't do it alone, though. He has a strong blue line in front of him. as we look at our players to watch. Honorable mentions in the section: Will Esterbrooks, a senior with 22 points, plays a very good two-way game for the Hawks. Cloquet-Esco Carleton's Joey Antonucci had 29 points last season, plays a big physical game at 200 pounds. And Proctor goaltender A.J. Rails, he had a .926 save percentage and a 7-8 record last season in a timeshare for the Proctor Rails. He takes on that role full-time this year, actually just committed D1 college hockey to Lindenwood this week, and he is a strong goaltender that gives the Rails a good chance at a top 2 or 3 seed in this section.
Last but not least, it is our friends up north in Section 8A, and there's plenty of talent to talk about in this section. As far as the alignment goes, no changes, as it is the same teams from a year ago. Bagley, Foston had a great season last year, set a program record for wins. Crookston, Detroit Lakes, East Grand Forks, Kittson County Central, Lake of the Woods, Park Rapids, Red Lake Falls, Thief River Falls, and the defending section champions, the Warroad Warriors. Let's talk about this section in particular. It's been Warroad, Thief River Falls, and East Grand Forks that have won the past 29 section championships. It has been one of those 3 teams, and it's looking like those 3 teams will be the top 3 once again in the section. Of course, Warroad loses a couple of key players in Jason Chagaby, who won the Mr. Hockey Award last year. They lose Hampton Slukinski in goal, but Warroad does have plenty of elite talent. East Grand Forks, too, is also a very loaded team. They bring back their top 6 leading scorers, including Brock Schultz, who had 42 points a season ago. And then, of course, you have Thief River Falls, who does bring back a huge chunk of scoring, including Braden Lund, who had 35 points for the Prowlers last year. And never count out Detroit Lakes as well. They have a really talented sophomore in Easton Kennedy, who scored 34 points as a freshman last season for the Lakers. And now let's go to the preseason player to watch. Not really much of a surprise here. It is senior forward Carson Pilgrim of the Warroad Warriors. Pilgrim was electric, no doubt, last season, scoring 52 goals, 92 points. And he is going to be, of course, one of the many Mr. Hockey candidates, potentially. Another strong season, and he could potentially enter among the top 10 for single-season scoring all time in Minnesota high school hockey. And he, of course, is committed to the University of North Dakota for hockey. Honorable mentions in this section include Landon Jameson out of East Grand Forks, 25 assists, 37 points for him, an elite forward who is going to be key for this Green Wave team. Of course, out of Warroad as well is senior defenseman Ryan Lund, a high-scoring defender who is certainly among the best in the state and on the Reed Larson watch list. He also has experience in the high school elite league as well the past 3 seasons. And finally, for the East Grand Forks Green Wave, it is defenseman Grady Magner. The senior is an elite defenseman who moves the puck extremely well and is going to try and help the Green Wave get back to the state tournament. We're going to step aside here on Inside the Bubble. When we come back, we will move to the player spotlight as we get lots of loud noises here at Richfield Ice Arena.
Behind every world-class athlete, there's a team who takes extra care to support them. At Affinity Plus, we take extra care with all your banking goals, from checking accounts to credit cards. Our biggest victory? Helping you win in the ways that matter most. Affinity Plus.
Your college experience begins with your dream. Your time at St. Cloud State will uniquely be your own, but your journey will be guided by our community. Be you. Be bold. Be a Husky.
What if there was a place where everything was hockey?
Oh, he can skate. Here comes Steve's in on goal, all alone.
In Minnesota, there is.
Score!
This week on our SCSU Player Spotlight, we feature a pair of Stillwater Pony seniors in Josie St. Martin and Brooke Nelson. They have been best of friends since the age of 6. Both are great athletes as well. Josie, of course, the Ohio State commit, and now 3-time USA U18 representative. Brooke will be playing Division I soccer at the University of South Dakota. Best of friends and great athletes. Let's go to Stillwater to check it out.
Playing soccer and hockey together, so we played club soccer, and that was really fun, and then we would like go to the rink together too. Yeah. But I just remember like always being on the same team as her and always playing together. Like I really can't think of a time where we weren't playing together.
And it's really fun when you have these girls that are now seniors, and all I've heard is, well, they've been together since they've been mites and U8s, and you start to look at them, and when they're at practice right now, they have such a nonverbal language.
Josie's just my person. I don't know, she just gets me like some people don't. Like we just have that chemistry on the ice. Like she doesn't even need to tell me where she is, and I just know where she is. Like she'll just make like one noise and I just like, oh, there's Josie, let me just get her the puck, feed it to her. She just knows me as a person and not just as a hockey player or something.
I can just go to Brookie for anything. She's always been there for me, always been a great friend. She's never let me down as a friend. She's just always been an awesome teammate, very kind person, so it's really nice to have someone like Brooke in your life that you can kind of talk to her about anything and she won't judge, and she's just really sweet.
A lot of the times, the memory I have is we'd go to Josie's house and we'd play knee hockey in her living room. That's like a memory I have of us playing knee hockey in her living room a lot.
And it's really, really special, and it's fun to see in their senior year. They both have different paths next year. Brookie's going to go play college soccer, and Josie's obviously going to go play at Ohio State, but when they're on the ice, it's just magic. It's really, really fun as a coach, and it certainly makes my job pretty easy.
Personally, I have tried and just been like live in the present moment, but we're definitely going to miss each other and have to FaceTime a lot next year.
Yeah, I think I just don't like to think about it because it's scary that we're going to be across the country from each other. So, yeah. I just love the game of soccer. It's super like complex, but at the same time, it's just like a simple game, and it's just really what I love to do. Like it's my getaway from regular life. Like I just like to be out on the field and
just using my teammates to be like, if I didn't have my teammates, I wouldn't be where I am. If I didn't have Brooke, if I didn't have my coaches, all my best friends on my team, it's just really good to be able to lean on them and kind of have them guide you through it too. We all like lean on each other, and that's what makes us successful. And there is pressure from like the outside world, but when you start to feel that, you just have to trust your teammates, trust the people you're around, trust the process that you've been doing. So.
And there's so much that they do, even when they're in the locker room, and whether you can tell whether they're happy with each other or not happy with each other, and then it translates on the ice. And so Brooke and Josie have been line mates from my understanding since they've basically been about U10 hockey players.
Really?
Yeah, we were really little. I remember your grandpa has a video of it on his phone, and I watched it the other week. And I was like, it was like we were playing, and they had a really good goalie, and Josie like wound up for a slap shot and scored, and it was just like, I just remember it like it was yesterday. Like, it was so fun.
Well, obviously with Josie, I mean, she is, I think in a lot of ways, the face of Minnesota high school girls hockey right now. Everyone's been talking about Josie St. Martin and girls hockey for a long time, and now here she is in her senior year. So a lot of what Josie is bringing to the table is that she, you know, everyone talks a lot about her, but what people don't realize is she's probably the hardest working kid.
For me, it was the section final against Hill, our rival, in freshman year, and the puck kind of bounced out to me, and I slid it over to Brooke, and we scored. Ended up winning the game 1-0, so we got the game-winning goal together as freshmen, which was pretty cool. And then our team went to the state tournament for the first time since 2009, so that was a key memory for me with Brooke on the ice.
I think our team has like a different dynamic. Like a lot of us have played together for a long time, and we just are constantly working hard, and everybody wants to go out and win a state championship this year, and I think there's nothing more you can ask for. Like everybody works hard, wants to be at the rink every day. Even if they don't want to be at the rink, they give a little bit that just keeps us going, and I think that's really big in winning a state championship and going far in the season.
Yeah, I would just say that this group has some really big goals set for this year, and we come to practice every day ready to work and ready to go, and you could just tell from the first couple days being on this team that this was a special group, and kind of a different vibe or a different feel that I've had personally from the last couple years. So this group's just dedicated, and we know what we want, and we're going to work as hard as we can for it.
Well, extra special surprise for you right here on Inside the Bubble. We have a group of gentlemen from the Academy of Holy Angel Stars. Of course, head coach Patrick Griswold is with us. We have Henry Lechner in the middle, and of course, Mason Garcia to my immediate left. A couple of captains with us right here today. You're going through week number 1, guys, and we decided to come out here to do the show as we've got a girls' game a little bit later on. You guys are working hard, Coach. Talk about the importance of setting the tone early.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of blew a couple things down today just to make kids do the drill again, to do it properly, right? Set the tone. So I laughed because we were talking to the coaches after. I'm glad that a couple of guys did that just to set the tone. They apologized after. I'm like, we don't do it anymore. Now you know, right? So it's setting the tone day one and getting good habits right away too. We talked about it before practice.
You guys seem like a close-knit group.
Yeah, probably more. We're probably the closest group I've been with since the 3 years that I've been here before. So that's nice.
Henry, what's different about it?
I think that everybody just likes being here more. I think everybody wants to be here. I think everybody is excited to be here. I think everybody understands that we can go far and we can shock some teams, but we all have to give our 100% out there every shift, every time we step on the ice.
Well, knowing what you know from last year, you didn't quit going into that third period against Wayzata. Had a shot to go on to the section final, and then anything happens. Obviously, target is starting to get larger on your backs, so people aren't going to take nights off or think they can. You're getting their very best. First, is that a compliment to you? And second, how do you as a group handle that?
I think we do have to recognize that is big for our program, that people aren't looking down on us anymore, but we also can't get our heads too high. We gotta keep focused and keep working hard.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, with that comes our schedule getting better and better and just playing the best teams. And I think the better teams we play, the better we're going to play, and the more ready we're going to be coming to sections playing against Wayzata and those top-tier teams.
Coach, your power play, scorching, at least in the summer. It looked amazing. How do you feel about where it's coming along right now?
I mean, we haven't done it yet, so we're not going to do it until Monday.
Very Kurt Giles-like.
Yeah, so no, today's practice one, right? So we want to get some D-zone stuff in. Tomorrow we'll get some forecheck in. Our scrimmages against Andover, Lakeville South, and White Bear on Saturday. We don't do any power play, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to necessarily get it going. We'll rev it up pretty good. Monday and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we got Chaco next Friday.
Season starts, 25 games come and go very fast. For you guys to pace yourselves through it, not let the highs get you too high, lows get you too low. How do you manage that as kids? Because there aren't a ton of opportunities as those games are precious.
I'd say just like you said, we're a real tight-knit group, so relying on your buddies there when you're up, making sure that they're not too up, and when you're down, making sure they're not too down, kind of staying together as a group.
Yeah, and I think me and Mason have a great job of just making sure that everybody stays level-headed. Even if we win a game 10-1 or if we lose a game 10-1, I think the next practice is going to be the exact same as it was before, just another step forward until the end of the season, because the real games count at the end of the season.
Final question for you, Pat. What do you tell guys like these that are being watched? You know, it's easy to put yourself on a stage and get into showcase mode. How do you keep them into Holy Angel Stars game mode, which will get them to the next level where they want to go?
Well, if we lose 10-1, like Henry thinks we might, we're not going to anybody going anywhere. No, I kid. Hey, we haven't proven anything yet, right? And preseason rankings don't mean a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And not to push on down on the guys, but you got to go prove it, right? And hey, you take care of the little things. I try to tell them all the time, like, it's not about points, guys. You play the game the right way. Play 200 feet. There's plenty of guys here every single night, and especially if we're playing better teams, you'll get noticed. You'll go places. But the other thing is we got to beat teams too, and show that hey, we're next level guys. You can't dominate this level of high school guys and beat these guys. You can't play at the next level.
We face it off coming up on Wednesday night. We'll have our Hockey Night Minnesota game in Grand Rapids, opening up the new arena. It's going to be awesome as they renovated the former IRA Civic Center. Hibbing Chisholm Blue Jackets. It's going to be an emotional night for sure. We're looking forward to bringing what's going to be a great night of hockey on the opener. You guys get going shortly after that. It's going to be a fun year. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And now on Inside the Bubble, we are introducing a new segment this week called the TRL Insider. The TRL standing for our partners at the Rink Live, and it will be Sydney Wolf who is joining us here occasionally throughout the season to bring some of the stuff that she's working on with the Rink Live. Matt, certainly excited for our partnership with the Rink Live this season. I've seen their viewer guide a few times. It is a comprehensive list. They got all our games in there as well, and they've been a great new partner for us.
Yeah, absolutely. They have been a great partner, and we're excited to have Sydney Wolf as part of the show. She does some terrific work for the Rink Live, and we're excited to add her to our growing list of team members here at BMN Hockey TV.
So our very own Pete Wagner caught up with Sydney Wolf.
A brand new segment right here on the Inside the Bubble program. Joining us is Sydney Wolf. She, of course, from the Rink Live. It's called TRL Insider with Sydney Wolf. And, you know, Sydney, the information you have, we could probably do an hour-long show. So we're going to kind of compact it into this. And then you and I are going to jump off into the Overtime podcast and have some really good information that you've picked up with your Rink Live crew and the things that you do. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you probably every other week here.
Yeah, of course. It's really fun to finally be in kind of the thick of things for high school. I'm getting really excited about the season.
It is exciting, and there's things that we'll talk about on the podcast, all the returning players, some NAHL tenders, and then in this one, we're going to talk a little bit about the college commitments, the most recent ones that you're aware of, which you have the pulse on. But a bigger story occurred out in Roseville, obviously, Jory Jones with the tragic car accident against Gustavus Adolphus goaltender, former Roseville goaltender. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what came down in Roseville that night?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a sad thing to have to, honor someone's life before a game and someone who did so many amazing things as Jory Jones did. But it was really great to see that it was really packed in there. There was a ton of people that came out, which was really good to see. And both the JV and the varsity teams came out on the ice for the ceremony. And, the Jones family was standing out on the ice while someone talked about, Jory's life and her accomplishments. And, she was just such a really good goaltender for Roseville High School. And they revealed a banner that now hangs at Roseville Ice Arena if you go there that says, J. Jones 33 at the end of the rink. So that's up now. They had 33 seconds of silence because that's the number that she wore. And Roseville Matamidi actually ended up winning the game 2-1. So that was kind of cool to see also. And I got to say, kind of a shout out to the Mounds View Irondale team for being classy. They had a big bouquet of flowers they gave to the Jones family, which I thought was a really classy thing to do. So it was just a good ceremony, and sad to have to honor her life that was cut so short. But what a amazing career and amazing goaltender.
Indeed. And, coming off the season they had at Gustavus as well with the national championship, really on a high, so to speak, and then tragedy hit. So let's now turn our attentions to the commitments. Have you noticed, is there a time frame when these are really hot and heavy, or do they kind of like just trickle in?
There's always that sort of hot start in August where everybody announces stuff, or the really high-end guys do. And then there's sort of like a wave in the fall for girls kind of in September, October, but now they've kind of cooled off. And then the rest kind of just seem to trickle in, I feel like, throughout the next few months here.
Let's talk about who you know of that's committed.
Yeah, so the most recent ones here over the last week or two, so I'm not going to do all of them since the window started. That'd take hours and hours, but the big one being recently was AJ Railtz of Proctor. He's a goalie who committed, which is really cool to see a young goalie committing, because I feel like that's pretty rare. A lot of times goalies got to put in a ton of work and they're older when they commit, but awesome goalie from Proctor. He had a .926 save percentage last year, and he's 6'2", so got some good size as well. I know all those coaches and scouts always want to see, those 6'1", 6'2" plus goalies.
It's almost like the 6'2" is at the bottom end. You're short.
Yeah.
6'2".
Yeah, so really excited for him. Committed to Lindenwood, so D1 commit there from Proctor, which was awesome to see. Also, Zach Wooten of Eastview committed to Maine, so Maine picking up some Minnesota kids here. Had a really solid elite league this fall and had 35 points in 27 games last year. He's a 6-foot forward going into his senior year. And then last but certainly not least, Will Doshin of St. Thomas Academy commits to Princeton, Ivy League school. You can't really complain about that. Going to get an awesome education while playing hockey. And he's a guy who's already pretty big, 6'2" as just a junior right now. And, also had a really solid elite league. So I feel like a lot of those top elite league kids are announcing their commitments here now that it's over and the season's about to start.
It is about to start, Sydney. How can everybody find your information?
Just go to therinklive.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Sydney is a Wolf.
You've got it all going on. We'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
And now it's time to take a look at our top 5 network games of the week, and we had a ton to choose from on this loaded hockey feast on opening weekend. We'll start with Chanhassen taking on Andover as part of the Tonka Thanksgiving preview. That's 3 p.m. on Friday.
And then we've got a couple more good ones for you as well this weekend, including Delano at East Grand Forks, an early season Class A matchup to keep an eye on. That one's at 2 p.m. on Saturday. And then we also have the Turkey Trot going on in Wayzata as well. That will feature Edina versus Moorhead at 5 p.m. and Wayzata and Maple Grove at 7 p.m. Personally, one of my favorite Thanksgiving tournaments.
Yeah, and one thing to note about the Turkey Trot this season, they're predetermined matchups, so it's not bracketed, so all 4 games are predetermined ahead of time. And now our top 5 network girls games of the week. We start with a really good one at Edina on Tuesday night. Always a treat when Holy Family, Catholic, and Edina go head-to-head. This one at Braemar on Tuesday the 21st. Also that night, Minnetonka will be taking on Stillwater out at the St. Croix Valley Rec Center. Then we go later in the week after the Thanksgiving holiday. Orono, Proctor Hermantown, they match up in what is always a great single A matchup. We have the Grand Rapids Greenway Lightning Tournament. They will host Blaine on Saturday. And Rogers Maple Grove in a Northwest Suburban Clash, Matt.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting week of games, Brandon. And you mentioned Minnetonka, Stillwater, a little West Metro versus East Metro action. So looking forward to that one. And you mentioned Holy Family Edina, always fun. A couple of new goaltenders in that matchup. It's been Sedona Blair and Uma Corney in past years. Going to look a little bit different this year. All right, here we go. We're going to go on to our boys' preseason rankings in Class AA. And no surprise to see the defending state champion Minnetonka Skippers starting out at number 1. We mentioned earlier the 9 Division I commits on this team, one of the most loaded high school teams we've ever seen here at the high school level. They are going to be a fun addition to watch. And they've got a section foe right behind them in the Chanhassen Storm. We're going to be bringing back lots of top-end talent, including goaltender Cam Hendrickson. Following out that is Lake Conference team Wayzata, and then Hill, Murray, Rogers, Edina to round out the top 6. And Brandon, this is a really good group. Some of the teams that we saw last season, but some newcomers as well. Rogers still looks to be a really good team despite who they lose.
Yeah, one thing that's really standing out to me about this list is there are some goaltending questions with a lot of these teams. Other than Chan that brings back Cam Hendrickson, you have Moorhead in there as well with Kai Weigel. But other than that, there's going to be a lot of teams breaking in new goaltenders. You never know how that's going to turn out. So I'm very curious to see if there could be some shuffling at the top of the standings. Certainly we know a lot of those programs are very deep and talented, moving up players from the Bantam level, JV level, and things like that. But that's a storyline to watch early in the season.
We'll go to Class A now, and no surprises at the top as we've got Hermantown coming in at number 1. Brandon mentioned Dane Calloway as one of the key returners in goal for Hermantown. Warroad came oh so close to a perfect season, ultimately losing in the championship game last year. But again, they've got lots of talent as well. East Grand Forks also out of 8A in the number 3 spot. So we've got a couple of teams in the same section that are at the top of their respective classes. St. Cloud Cathedral, Matamidi, Orono, and then rounding out the top 11, Delano, Cloquet-Asco, Carleton, Hibbing, Chisholm, Thief River Falls, and Alexandria. Who stands out to you in this, Brandon?
Well, from here, it really is East Grand Forks. This is a group that really is bringing back everybody. Again, maybe some goaltending questions, but then again, Warroad in their section, you could say the same thing. But I like the goaltending situations in Hermantown, in St. Cloud Cathedral, in Matamidi, all bringing back experienced netminders there. One thing to watch for, not this coming week, but I believe the following week, both East Grand Forks and Warroad will be descending upon the Twin Cities area for a pair of games against single A opponents. That's going to tell us a lot about the state of our early season rankings. Taking a look now at the Class A rankings, and we have a bit of an early season shuffle at the top of the pack. Holy Angels, by virtue of the win over Warroad, is number 1. The Warriors, though, have had an impressive start to the season. Their overall resume has them at 2. Duluth Marshall 3, Simley 4, Orono 5, and then you see South St. Paul and Proctor Hermantown slipping a bit, Matt. But overall, I think we kind of expected this in single A, especially with so many clashes of high-ranked teams early in the year.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. And Warroad has 3 wins against teams that are on this list, including Duluth Marshall, Simley, and Proctor Hermantown. That 1 loss to Holy Angels, so that's why they're number 2. And how about welcome back the Breck Mustangs, who are here in the Kare 11 Top 11 for the first time since March of 2021. So it's good to see the Mustangs back in the mix.
Yeah, hot start for Breck, and we'll take a look at AA, where there's a little bit of shuffling as well. You see a sliding up from 2, 3, and 4. Andover drops a few spots. They actually tied Moorhead on Friday night before that loss to Minnetonka. We saw Champlain Park Coon Rapids in the highlight package. They're debuting at number 6, and Lakeville North a strong run as well in the early season. Matt, what's standing out about these early rankings?
Well, I've been impressed with Champlain Park Coon Rapids, Brandon. I think you see that's why they're 4-0 and all the way up to number 6. But Minnetonka obviously still number 1, and Hill Murray's had a good start. Edina had a nice win over Proctor Hermantown on Saturday. But we're seeing a lot more of these undefeated teams in Class AA because so many of the top dogs, so to speak, in Class A have played each other. But overall, it's been a good start for a lot of these teams, including Benilde St. Margaret's, who had a dominating win over Moorhead on Saturday.
Time to look at our games of the week, and obviously Pete already touched on the boys' game of the week, opening up the brand new arena the remodeled arena up in Grand Rapids. We do have a girls' game the night before, Matt. It is Blake hosting Holy Angels, and these teams are now section rivals. They'll play at the historic Blake Ice Arena on Tuesday night, one of my favorite buildings to go visit, and excited for you guys to get to call this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well, and of course, this is a fun arena to be in. A lot of history in that arena, and of course, Blake moving down, you mentioned section rivals now with Holy Angels. Really good goaltender in Janie McGaughan, and lots of talent on the Holy Angels side as well. So very much looking forward to this one.
We have a lot to look forward to this upcoming Thanksgiving week. A couple games of the week, boys and girls. All sorts of Thanksgiving hockey on both the boys and girls side coming up on the weekend. We'll have a lot to talk about next week, Matt, but a lot of labor goes into these preview shows for sure, and we got them wrapped up, and now it's time to let the season roll.
Yeah, let's get going, and it's been fun shooting these with you, Brandon, and here we are ready to roll.
All right, for this time on Inside the Bubble from Richfield Ice Arena, I'm Brandon Spratt, joined by Matt Harrington, Pete Wagner, our executive producer. So long, everyone.